Hello everybody, welcome to a special edition of Friends List. We are here to talk about the Microsoft Xbox One's price cut. I am your host, Christopher Thomas Plante, and I have Brian Crecente, our news editor, on the line. How are you doing today, Brian?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing okay. This is some interesting news, so I'm hoping that you can kind of catch everyone up on just what has happened this morning.
So, Microsoft this morning made two announcements, one of them much bigger than the other one. The big announcement is that starting June 9th, they're going to start selling the Xbox One without a Kinect. That's right, the required, absolutely needed Kinect camera is no longer going to be required for the Xbox One. And now that console, if you buy the Xbox One without a Kinect camera, it'll be $399, which means it will be the same price as the PlayStation 4. The other news, which, like I said, isn't quite as big, is that they've done some things to make Xbox Live Gold a little better. So now there's some things you can do that don't require gold, like, let's say, using Netflix. Also, they're going to be rolling out free games starting in June for Xbox Gold. And they're doing some discounts for Xbox Gold members.
Now, there's a lot to unpack here, so we'll start kind of at the top. And the first question I have is this technically a price drop? Because I believe the $499 version will still exist. It'll have Kinect. And this version it's missing what I assume is at least a $100 piece of hardware. Is that a price drop, or is that just an adjustment?
If my guess is, if you asked Microsoft, they would absolutely say it's not a price drop. It's a new version. But yeah, I mean, I think the main reason they're doing this is because they need to be more competitive with Sony and the PlayStation 4. And so I think that you could call it a price drop. I think that's fair to do that.
Sure, and even if it is a price drop, it's not the fastest one in history. We looked this up. The Nintendo 3DS dropped its price in 5 months, and this was 6 months. So they've eked out by a month there, beating Nintendo as the winner of, I guess, or the loser of having to lower the price right away. You mentioned the PlayStation 4 success, and I have another number here too. That in April, Sony announced that they had sold 7 million PS4s. Around that time, Microsoft announced that they had shipped, which doesn't mean that they had full sell-through, 5 million Xbox One. So, I mean, that seems like a substantial number that, Microsoft is motivated to start competing.
Right. Well, and more importantly, you look at where those two platform holders were last generation. It was flipped.
Sure.
Granted, PlayStation 4 is slowly caught up, and I think it actually may be the PlayStation 3 may be exceeding Xbox 360, but they're pretty neck and neck now. But Microsoft had a lot of momentum going into the Xbox One launch, and as we all know, they lost a lot of momentum going into that launch because they did a lot of this, which is they announced things. They were very clear that they weren't going to change any of these things, and slowly over the past year leading up to and then now the launch of their console, they have backtracked on almost everything, which is insane. Like these... you look at the things that they said when they first unveiled the Xbox One, that it was required, that the Kinect was required, that the Xbox One had built into it chips designed exclusively to support the Kinect camera. So, like, those sort of things are, like, baffling that they're now making this change. We haven't had a chance to ask Microsoft a lot of questions. I'm going to be talking to them in about 15 minutes, and we'll ask some of these things. But, for instance, will the Xbox One without Kinect... My assumption is it's going to have those extra chips because they want to be able to sell this camera later to you. But, are they considering maybe having a version that doesn't? And what about all those developers out there who either have already launched a game or, in the case of Harmonix, have been, pointing straight ahead toward a launch of a game that requires Kinect, and now they're being told, oh, by the way, some of those customers that buy Xbox One are not going to have a Kinect camera. Like, there's a lot of issues.
And also, how much, will this next Kinect cost? I believe the original launched at $150, $149 when it came out for the 360. And, I mean, you figure there's a $100 difference between the old Xbox and the new Xbox One. And you imagine also that they want to incentivize people buying them as a bundle. So, I mean... I'm curious to see how much they are willing to charge for Kinect that doesn't seem to have as many games, even as the Xbox 360 did for Kinect. I'm curious how they'll incentivize it afterwards, or if they even will.
I think currently there are about nine games coming out or that have come out that require the Kinect, and these are games that you can't. It's not like any of the games that have come out where it sort of uses Kinect as a potential add-on. These are games that where you have to use Kinect. So there aren't a lot of them. But you're right about the price. It's really interesting because I think that on some level the Kinect camera certainly over time is going to start becoming a loss leader for them. And if you look at the PlayStation 4 and its camera, I believe right now it's like $60.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be really hard. I guess they could get away with this for a little while, but seemingly they're going to have to do something. My guess is either they do a price drop on the Xbox One that has Kinect, or much more likely they include something like Fantasia to maybe make Harmonix feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So you've got this Harmonix bundle Xbox One or whatever. You bundle in a game or two on the Xbox One with Kinect, and that's the thing that gets people to pay the $500 for the console versus the 400.
Yeah, on Twitter, some of the people from Harmonix seemed maybe just as surprised as everybody else did. But
And not pleasantly.
yeah, there's another thing that we're not talking about though, and almost maybe because it seems so obvious, but why Kinect was included with the Xbox One was to guarantee that everybody could develop to that hardware, that
Right.
everyone had the same thing, that the menus and the UI in your Xbox One were the same for everybody. The second you sell one that doesn't have that Kinect included, you do divide up your audience,
Right.
and that's also fascinating.
The brilliance of the plan, if it had worked out, was that they were just like, any sort of thing that you expect in a console. They were trying to make Kinect and the camera as I guess just something that you expect in your gaming system as much as you would expect Xbox Live or as much as you
Sure.
would expect a controller. And what that meant was they didn't have to go to developers and twist their arm to sort of make games that were Kinect games because then people would want to buy that game because it supports Kinect. They could just say, hey, do whatever you want to do. If you want to use Kinect and it's some silly little thing, that's fine because you're not expected to give us a reason or give consumers a reason to buy the Kinect because they already have the Kinect. So in theory, that means, or should have meant, that you had more developers willing to play around with it. But the reality is, I know we're not that far into it, but we haven't seen that. There's a lot of neat technology that I would love to see developers using, like the ability to check my heart rate while I'm playing a game or to see when I'm not looking. Some of that stuff is just starting to hit or starting to be hinted at hitting. And already, like you said, they're pulling the rug out from the system. I think they needed to either do that or drop the system with Kinect, drop the price to $399, which Microsoft obviously wasn't willing to do. But it is a bummer because I think we're going to see a lot less innovation now.
Sure. I think there's also the reality that if you have, say, like a Ubisoft game that has 600 people on the team, adding more people to develop something like what you're talking about, that is an entire extra load of people. I mean, unless you're being subsidized by Microsoft, I can imagine why it would be difficult to assign talent to work on that when they could be working on something that is going to be on all platforms. Now that, PlayStation 4 is selling well and the PC versions of games are selling well, that's a pretty substantial ask. The
I
other
think
thing. Oh, sorry. Go
well,
ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I think that's true, but I also think look at a good comparison, I think, is Twitch. So
Oh, sure.
Twitch was something that people didn't, I don't think, maybe some people did, but a lot of people kind of wrote off or at least didn't see it as a big deal. And it quickly, after the PlayStation 4 launched with it, became like a must-have app. Microsoft got theirs out later, added a few more features, but more importantly, we're starting to see now games that actually use Twitch as a gaming component. And I think that had there not been this issue of price, I think that maybe that's something that could have happened with Kinect and with the is it the eye camera? What do they call it now? It's not the iToy anymore.
Yeah.
The eye.
The Sony's camera is
The,
what I call
the
it.
Sony's camera.
At least they won the branding war. They'll always have that. While you're here, I want to talk about some of the other things because it does feel like the entire announcement is a bit reactionary to PlayStation in general. There's the price drop, obviously, having parity between the two consoles, but also the apps that now you'll be able to watch Netflix and Hulu without having Xbox Gold, which, I mean, it's the most obvious decision that you could do at this point, considering all those apps are in almost every piece of new technology that you buy. Like I feel like my toaster has Netflix running on it at this point. And that's something that has always been available to PlayStation 3 and now PlayStation 4. And also the free games, Xbox, I don't know what their branding is for it, Xbox free games or whatever that come with gold. But that feels like a reaction to PlayStation Plus. Would you say that's fair, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of it is certainly that. I think it's also a little bit of a smokescreen for the Kinect decision. I think they're trying to do their best to make this not look like what it is, which is a price
Yeah.
drop. So they're like, "Hey, look over here! Look at the gold stuff. Don't pay attention to that Kinect stuff and all the things we said for the last year." But yeah, I think the gold stuff is great. It's a long time coming. It's interesting because Xbox Live was such a powerful force for the
Yeah.
last generation of consoles and for the last generation of Xbox, and even a tiny bit of the original Xbox, if you recall. But it came into its own with the Xbox 360, and it owned online gaming. It was the way you played online in terms of consoles. It was so much better than PlayStation Network. And then you have this next generation, and Microsoft sort of. I don't think they lost. I don't think they took a lot away, but they didn't learn from sort of all the things that Sony was doing. Sony was trying to
Yeah.
innovate, come up with ideas, and Sony has a fantastic package now for the PlayStation network, for PlayStation's that account that you can get. What's it called? I've suddenly forgotten what that's
PlayStation
called.
Plus.
Plus, yes. So
Yeah.
Plus is amazing. Like it's PlayStation Plus isn't I need to get it because I want to play online. It's like I need to get it because I'd be stupid not to get it because like I play games and this is a fantastic system. Games with gold came to 360. I think very reactionary. Now they're finally saying come this June it's going to be coming to Xbox One. So now you're going to start getting these free games. Interestingly enough, like PlayStation Plus, it's going to be tied to your account. So they have been paying attention in all the
Yeah.
wish lists for consumers. So if you stop that account, I think you lose those games if you stop paying for live. But yeah, I mean, so it's good that they're doing that. It's good that they got rid of those barriers. I do think the idea of getting rid of the requirement for gold for things like video streaming, in particular, media streaming, is tied in some part to their sudden and massive interest in bringing TV to the Xbox One. I think it sounds maybe contrary to reason that they would make it easier for competitors to get people to watch their stuff on the Xbox One. But in speaking with Nancy Tellum, you were at the meeting.
Yeah.
She kept saying they don't want to be the owners of all video on Xbox One. They want to be one channel. And for that to work, if that's really what they want, that approach, they need all those channels to exist and all those channels to be something that don't have a lot of barriers. So you feel like essentially your Xbox One is your cable box, which is I
Yeah.
still think is their big play.
They want to motivate everyone possible to start watching video there now. So when they announce their own stuff, that is the premium package. I mean, I
Right.
think that's pretty clear. And some of their stuff will be free too. I think you're right. They just need to make sure that if people are watching something, that they're choosing to watch it on the Xbox One. And I do want to say, I think maybe I in particular have come across more cynical about the announcement today, but it's encouraging to see a company be relatively agile about all of this stuff, that they are recognizing where the competitor is doing things right and learning from it and adjusting. I mean, sure, it's kind of going back on their word, but it's going back on a word that people wanted them to go back on for some time, it seems like, at least people who leave comments on our site.
Well,
So it's impressive that, they can adjust and get rid of something that a lot of people don't necessarily like.
I will say this. I agree with you. I think that it's great that they did this. I'm very happy they did it. However, there are millions, I think, right, of people who went out and bought the Xbox One,
Yeah.
many of which, at the minimum, I think they said it was like 70, 80% of people who are using Kinect, which frankly I think is low because it comes with it.
I
Um,
think we heard a much higher number than that recently, but
but yeah, so like the thing is like those people aren't going to be happy with this. Like
yeah.
what is the I understand early adopter syndrome, like you're kind of screwed if you're an early adopter. It doesn't matter who it is that you're a fan of, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Apple. It's just the fact, it's the price of being an early adopter. However, it doesn't make it feel good, and I think it would be great, it would behoove Microsoft, because they were so adamant this was never going to change, that they
Yeah.
some sort of make good, because I mean, there
Sort of like Nintendo did with the 3DS.
in
Free games.
oh right,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. I thought you were being flippant about the 2DS.
Oh no, God.
Yeah,
Um,
so I mean, I think that they need to do something because right now there are lots of people who own the Xbox One who bought it begrudgingly with the Kinect because they were promised that was the only way you're ever going to get it, who are
yeah.
probably really angry right now.
Yeah, I do want to read that quote about the 80% from Spencer. In fact, more than 80% of you are actively using Kinect with an average of 120 voice commands per month on each console. And when I read that, I thought, is that me? And is that me like yelling at it to do the right thing over
God
and over?
damn it! God damn it, Xbox One. Yeah,
Oh
I
boy.
think it's got to be. You have to divide that number by 5 because that's how many times you have to say Xbox on for it to actually turn on.
This poor thing, we just beat up on it. Brian, thank you for making time. I know that you're super busy today, but it was great talking to you.
Thank you. It was fun.
And we are here every weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're called Friends List. See us on Polygon.com, or if you have iTunes, we're there too. Be sure to subscribe. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.